In human beings, the transport system helps in carrying oxygen, nutrients, and waste products. This transportation system is referred to as the circulatory system and consists of the heart and a network of blood vessels. In circulatory system, blood is the most important mode of transport. Blood is a fluid connective tissue which consists of the fluid part called plasma. Inside the plasma, the cells such as white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets are suspended. Plasma transports food, carbon dioxide, and nitrogenous waste in dissolved form. As you have studied in the lower classes, oxygen is carried to different parts of our body by a pigment called hemoglobin present in the RBC. In human body, blood is transported to different parts of the body by a network of tubes called the blood vessels. Blood needs to be pumped so that it can reach each and every cell of our body. This is done by a muscular organ called the heart. Blood vessels are mainly of two types, arteries and veins. Arteries are blood vessels which carry oxygenated blood away from the heart. The blood that is flowing through the arteries are under high pressure as the heart is pumping it with great force. To withstand this pressure, arteries are having thick walls and it is highly elastic. On reaching an organ or tissue, the arteries further divide into smaller vessels so that the blood reaches each and every individual cell. Such small vessels are one-celled thick and they are called capillaries. The thin walls of the capillaries allow oxygen from the blood vessels to move out into the cells and the waste products from the cell to enter into the blood vessels. These capillaries then unite to form veins. Veins carry blood away from the different organs. They are the blood vessels that carry blood from the different organs to the heart. The walls of the veins are much thinner and less muscular than the arteries. This is because the blood that is flowing through the veins is under low pressure compared to that flows through the arteries. Due to this reason, veins are having valves which prevent the blood from flowing back, or it allows the blood to move only in one direction. Valve ensures that the deoxygenated blood in the vein is moving only in one direction to the heart. When there is an injury and bleeding, there is a natural loss of blood from the system. This leakage can lead to a loss of pressure, which would reduce the efficiency of the circulatory system. To avoid this, the blood has platelet cells which circulate around the body and plug these leaks by helping to clot the blood at these points of injury. The circulatory system also uses the lymph, also called the tissue fluid, for transport of substances throughout the body. Through the pores present in the walls of the capillaries, some amount of plasma, proteins, and blood cells escape into the intercellular spaces in the tissues to form the tissue fluid or lymph. It is similar to the plasma of blood but colorless and contains less protein. Once the lymph is formed in the intercellular spaces, it drains into the lymphatic capillaries, which then join to form large lymph vessels. These lymph vessels then finally open into the larger veins. Lymph carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine and drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into blood. Now let us see the structure of human heart. The heart has different chambers to prevent the oxygenated blood from mixing with the deoxygenated blood. The heart is a muscular organ which is as big as our fist. The structure of the heart is different in different animals. Fishes have two-chambered heart which has one ventricle and one atrium or auricle. The deoxygenated blood from the ventricle passes through the gills where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide take place. The oxygenated blood is then carried to different parts of the body and from there it moves to the atrium. Thus, blood flows through the heart only once in the cycle. Therefore, this type of circulation is called the single circulation. Amphibians and many reptiles have three-chambered hearts and can tolerate some mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Birds and mammals have four-chambered heart which consists of two atria and two ventricles. The atria and ventricles are completely separated so that the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are not mixed. This separation allows a highly efficient supply of oxygen to the body, and this is useful to animals that have high energy needs such as birds and mammals, in which the energy is constantly used to maintain their body temperature. In most other invertebrates, blood goes through the heart twice during each cycle. That is why it is known as double circulation. The heart is provided by valves which ensures the flow of blood only in one direction and prevents the flow of blood backwards. Let us now see the working of heart. Deoxygenated blood comes from the body to the upper chamber on the right, that is the right atrium, as it expands. As the right atrium contracts, the corresponding lower chamber, that is the right ventricle, dilates, and the blood is transferred to the right ventricle, which in turn pumps it to the lungs for oxygenation. Since ventricles have to pump blood into various organs, they have thicker muscular walls than the atria. Valves ensure that the blood does not flow backward when the atria or ventricles contract. Blood is oxygenated in the lungs, and the oxygen-rich blood comes to the thin-walled upper chamber of the heart on the left, that is the left atrium. The left atrium relaxes when it is collecting this blood. It then contracts while the next chamber, that is the left ventricle, expands so that the blood is transferred to it. When the left ventricle contracts, the blood is then pumped out to the body. The force exerted by the blood against the walls of the vessel is called the blood pressure. This pressure is much greater in arteries than in veins. The pressure of blood inside the artery during the ventricular systole or the contraction is called systolic pressure, and the pressure in artery during ventricular diastole, that is relaxation, is called diastolic pressure. The normal systolic pressure is about 120 millimeters of Hg and diastolic pressure is 80 millimeters of Hg. Blood pressure is measured with an instrument called sphygmomanometer. High blood pressure is also called hypertension and is caused by the constriction of arterioles, which results in increased resistance to blood flow. It can lead to the rupture of an artery and internal bleeding.